All right, I think I have this under control. I think. Hey, what's up? I'm not going to do much of an intro because there's not much happening here. So I am just starting this. So we'll see. Welcome to the bench. Strumwood Guitars. My name's Jeff. I'm just working. Feel free to join along. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Dropping frames like crazy here. Let's see what I can do here. So what's happening is I'm streaming to Twitch and YouTube. Hey, thanks for that. Appreciate that. I am trying to do a multi-stream. We'll see how this goes. I've been asked to do this before in past. And I thought this would be kind of fun to try and see. I've got cameras. I do a lot of content in the first place, so I figured might as well just do a live stream while I'm kind of working. I don't plan on going anywhere. I've never been on Twitch though. I am having some problems over there, but I might just end that stream. Oh wow, cool. Thank you. I'm being told that I'm having buffering issues on Twitch. Is that actually happening? I'm on OBS. Well, my drop frames are going down, so anyway, I'll just keep going. Here, I'm just wrapping up this. Grab some glue. Oh, are you? Do you do repair as well? Multi-streaming in general is a little overwhelming. I did, when I first started all of this way back when, it makes me sound like I've been doing this forever, but a couple of years ago, I did a couple live streams before I actually started doing content, the couple of videos that I have. And it was tough to even stay on top of one in the strat. I don't understand how these guys can do it with tens of thousands. I mean, obviously they have mods and stuff, but I have a lot of respect for being able to monitor so many screens at once. Oh, cool. Yeah, building something I'm slightly interested in. I haven't really got into it yet though. I want to start simple and do like a Les Paul Jr. style, like a really simple one single cut, no binding, like nothing like that. I've done binding repairs. I've actually done a couple of rebinds, and I hated it. So it might be a lot easier just doing it for the first time though. But yeah, I just want a super simple guitar to build, just see if I like it. I actually have all the parts kicking around here too. I've ordered a bunch of parts a while ago for that. We'll see, but... Oh, that's rad. You're very in the scene in your area. That's cool. That's the funny thing about musicians, is that it seems to be the case. Everybody knows each other, which is kind of cool. Memphis, that's a good scene to be in. Place I've never been to. I have like 3 tellies. That's the only reason why I didn't want to build a telly. But yes, I realize that they're probably a little bit easier to do there. Actually, that is one other thing I want to do. One of my friends gave me a bunch of wood, a bunch of cedar blanks, and I want to just try doing something a little bit fun with it. Turn it into kind of a barnyard telly. So maybe I will start with that. Okay, it's no worries. I think it's just one of those things that everyone seems to, I guess, know, especially if you're doing repairs and stuff, whether it's just your own or other people's. I think the other thing for me too is that this guitar that I'm just wrapping up, I've actually done a bunch of work on this one. I just kind of set the cameras up and we're just kind of whatever, go as I work. But this one has been by far a big parts caster. It's all sorts of different parts hoping to be put together, and of course nothing fits, nothing lines up, nothing works. Makes things a little challenging for sure, but I think quality is a big part. The type of hardware that you put on your guitar, of course, as exciting as some of the Amazon finds or whatever you can find. Yeah, I'm calling a parts Paul. That's good. I haven't heard that one. Yeah, this one I'm actually calling a banana caster. Yeah, these parts casters, I actually stay away from them. I try not to take them. They just take up so much time and energy, and it's not generally not worth it. This is like a really fun project or like a really good friend, which this one is. This is a good friend of mine, so I'm like, I got you, man, but I don't want it. I don't want to do it. So just one of those things you just yeah, it's actually cool. There's a couple that I just finished. He's got this kind of cool cut on it. And it's his own kind of creation. So he's got I've done a black one for him and a natural one. And I think he's got a couple more coming too, so maybe they'll be on the next stream. Let's see. We'll see. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, streaming on yeah, setting them up. This one was a bunch of parts. So this one I'm replacing everything. Actually, everything on the electronics. I wanted to, but he just didn't because he's giving me so many. And he's giving me more. He wants to kind of like not go to the top on everything. But he's got now Telecaster custom shop pickups in here, which was like the first thing I told him. All the electronics they're okay. They'll do. Just the parts and pieces that are inside of it, and then yeah, we did that. And this needs a real big fret job, like real bad. But he's gonna play it for a little bit, break it in, and then we'll come back and do that. And changed the bridge, which didn't fit. That's kind of that like online ordering thing. Like it didn't fit, didn't work. So some mods happening there, and then we're just throwing on just a new bone, like a tusk nut form kind of thing. I personally like to do bone. I don't like to do those tusk nuts personally, but it's not my guitar, so whatever you want. But yeah, he's having fun with these, and this one is in standard, like just standard E, but he's got another one that he's got tuned to baritone. So I think he's having all sorts of fun with it. And like I said, he's got a couple more coming. Apparently one of them is this top shape, but then it's a V. So that actually will look pretty dope. Because if he's got the corners up here and then it goes to a V on the backside, it will be yeah, a lot of sharp corners. That's how people lose an eye. Yeah, I definitely have to figure out the best way of doing these. Because I think he gets someone to like pre-assemble them. I don't know. It's not really my problem. I just fix it when it gets here. Yeah, I just figured while I'm doing this, I might as well throw some stuff up and kind of see what happens. So the interaction and having someone to chat with actually is pretty cool. So I appreciate you being here. To be honest, I don't know who makes this. I think he has a company he's working with. I don't know. I don't want to actually speak for him because I'm not really too sure. He was back in the day. I can tell you that back in the day, like 10, 12 years ago, he was like doing this as a business and he was selling them. I don't think he's doing that anymore. And I think he's kind of just moved on from it, but he still had some of these, I think is what has happened there. I think that's the game that he's playing. The ever exciting time of intonating a guitar. But I've already done this, so it should be pretty good. I can just lock it all down and be good to go. He has one of the, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Babbit? B-I-C-Z, or I-C-Z? B-A-B-I-C-Z, yeah, I don't know how to, Babbit? But yeah, he's got one of those bridges that has a very interesting adjustment on the string action and stuff. There's like a rotary wheel that goes in on it, which is kind of weird. And then it has like a Floyd Rose locking kind of mechanism. I don't think the cameras are quite going to show it. Where are we? We're right here. I don't think it's actually gonna, no, it's not going to get it. But there's like a screw in the front of this that you kind of put it in place, and then when you get it roughly in place, then it has a set screw that you can pop it in, which is a little bizarre actually. We are bang on here, which is nice. It looks like a little bit of this is going to end up moving on us actually, because they're not lined up with the locking holes. I did adjust the contrast on this camera here so that this yellow wasn't like over the top, because it was just blowing out. This is a nice camera, but the ones that are sitting over my bench are just kind of a plain Jane webcam. So this one was making everything freak out. It looked like the sun actually, which kind of checks out. Yeah, it is all good. Happy to have you here. Yes, lock these down, and then this one's all done. And I can get paid. This is always what I've never understood with these, is that this one actually you can get to, but if you've ever done this on a Floyd Rose, you have to like loosen all of the string tension to even get these in place. So trying to like intonate a guitar is such a wonderful experience. There's that one. Apparently the next batch of these too, he was saying that they're coming in a vibrant color. I'm like, dude, have you seen this? I also don't know about the music. I kind of have it going on in shop. I used to like have another source, and it was crazy loud. I don't know if you're even picking it up at all. It looks like you are. But this is generally the vibes that I have kind of just working in here, so. one. Yeah, it looks like my drop frames have gone down too, so that's good. Started rough. One thing I've really enjoyed doing now, personally, is actually putting all of my tools away at the end of every guitar. I never used to, and I just spent probably close to a week cleaning this shop because it was so bad. And it was like, it didn't bother me, and it was like, oh, I'm done with this, I'll put the tool down or whatever. But then that just starts to pile up. So now I'm getting into this habit of like cleaning up, but I like it. It's like a fresh start on every guitar. Look at that. Our first guitar done together. This was what an experience this was. I'm digging it. Okie dokie. Yeah, the other thing that scares me about very reflective tops is that it's very easy to scratch. I'm very crazy about having a different rag for every task. I polish frets on my setups, but I use a rag at the very end. It just kind of removes everything altogether. And then I sometimes, depending on the guitar, this one being high gloss qualifies, but I'll actually use just a chamois. I don't like clean with them, but I have a dry chamois and a couple different compounds, depending on what it is that I'm doing. But anyway, a clean, dry chamois works really well. Rather than cleaning solvents, I use that to get all the fingerprints and stuff off, but that's the other funny thing about guitar repair in particular. I mean, I guess it's the same for any trade, but everyone has their own little secret in what they like to do. And I like learning that, and I like sharing that. So that's kind of a huge part of this. It's just, here's how I do it. You might not like it, you might like it. That's totally cool. That's to be human, so I'm totally for it. And that one came out of... Wax off, wax on. Wow. All right. Actually, that might be a horrible sound. Sorry if that was. Okay, let's see what's next. What's next? I currently have a little bit of everything in right now. I got some setups, I got some electrical, I have a couple neck resets, and now I have some refrets, and I also have some finish work. Yeah, I got a little bit of everything. When you do repair work, are you working on your own or are you part of a shop? Sorry, I don't know if you said that or not. That's been the hardest thing for me, is just trying to know which one, because I like try and do the quick ones first, but then sometimes they're like the one that came in today versus one that I had come in, say, a week ago or something that is a bigger job. That's always an interesting approach to seeing how everyone does it. That one's got some electrical mods too, so I guess let's go to one of these guys. See, I gotta fix the saturation. Let's see if I can do that. Hang on. Just a touch. I've got pretty bright lights on my bench, so it makes everything blow out, it seems. There we go. It's a little bit darker, but you can actually kind of see what I'm doing. Standard string supplied. Oh yeah, which is in another case. So first thing I do on every guitar that it comes in is, and kind of backing up a step. That's one of the things that I'm doing is, here's how I go through my approach, but what I do on every guitar that comes in is I measure it. So I measure all specs. I measure string height, I measure string gauge, and tuning. And then generally the comments that I get, or rather the questions I ask, are, do you want it to be yeah, I just follow up on what's going on there, and then I ask what's the next step. What do you need? Do you like the action? Sometimes I don't even use those words. I just say, do you like, obviously I deal with a lot of guitar players, but sometimes you don't. So I like to say, do you like the feeling of your guitar? No, it's a little tough when I play up a little bit higher, or whatever the case is. So in this particular case, this guitar is, I love the feeling of it, but we're changing the string gauge. I, being my client, is changing string gauge and then but wants the feeling to be the same of this, and then wants his other guitars to be set up to the same as this one. So start on this one, then I just write that down. So in this case, we are 4/64ths all the way across. And I believe that this one is in standard. No, this one is half step down, but he wants it to be standard. So all of these things come into play, especially on a Strat because we got the tremolo, so we're going to have some tension underneath. And he also wants this to be floated, so at least a little bit. And then string gauge, yeah. So in this case, I think we're 10s. So 10 to 52. Which would be, as terminology goes, most people actually have a set of Ernie Ball, which is the 10 to 52, which is the skinny top, heavy bottom. So it's not a 10 to 46, which is your standard 10 gauge string to 46 gauge string. So that'll be interesting. And I don't know what it is that he's giving me. They're in one of the other cases, so I'll have to go grab those strings. Not that it's important at this exact moment, but I would like to just know what it's going to. Yeah, so then it's going 10 to 52. And then also, what is our float? Barely a half step up. So we're in E flat, all the way like wedged into the guitar is barely getting us to E. So we're just a half step bend. So half step bend. And then yeah, I write this down and then I just know how it came in. And now when I take the strings off and do everything I need to do and then go back to set it up, I don't go, hey, how did I do that? And I also use, obviously, software for all of my stuff, so it stores all this for the next time that he comes in with either this guitar or others. And then as far as the like the walkthroughs and stuff, I'll definitely do it as I go through. But one of the things I want to get to, especially on YouTube, as far as just content in general, is like a basic setup. So I've got just a couple of videos. I have quite a bit that I'm in the middle of editing or need to get to editing. There's only so much time and that's just me. But I really enjoy actually all of this. I enjoy the social stuff. I enjoy the videos and so forth. But anyway, one of the things I want to do outside of that is actually, I guess you can call it a training series, but it's just, again, how I set up a tremolo, how I set up an acoustic guitar, how I set up Les Paul or a hardtail bridge, a Bigsby, so forth. And that's definitely going to consume a lot of energy and time, but I'm up for the challenge. Kind of one of those things to keep you entertained, I guess. And myself, actually, as well. And I don't know how often I'm going to be doing the live streaming. This is just kind of like a, let's try it and see what happens and see if I dig it and so forth, and kind of go from there. So I don't know if it's not going to be like an everyday kind of thing. I might do it once a week. I might do it once a month. I might do it twice a week. I'm not really too sure yet, but I appreciate you all for being here. And I like that there's no backplate on here. That's like my least favorite thing about a Strat is when you're taking the strings off and now all of a sudden you've got the trim plate to deal with. Makes things a little annoying, but I don't have that in this case. Oh yeah, right, that one had the Tremble no. I don't know. I have to remember how to set that thing up. We'll get there. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here. This is I do this on every setup. I think you should be able to hear me over here. So I just throw some tape on my pickups. Actually, I'm going to grab another one. This is the only controversial thing that I do. I like to use steel wool, but I use it cleanly. I use it correctly. Because what happens, and a lot of people don't know, is that if you don't protect your pickups, obviously those little fibers go into the pickups, and they actually can cause a lot of damage in there. So I just tape them up, and then I don't have to worry about it. And I also do it cautiously and quickly. And all I'm doing, I don't have a camera over here, obviously, but all I'm doing, oh, actually, let me switch you over so you can actually see what I'm doing. Hang on. All I'm doing is I just have this little, like, string gauge or fret slot, and then I just put some, like, green tape on it. Green tape is, like, my favorite thing to use in the shop. But I actually just throw it together and put it along on the edges, and then it allows me to just give me a little bit of coverage. And I just pop it over the fret, use a little steel wool. It goes pretty quick. I'm not hanging on it for very long, and it protects the fingerboard because I don't want to scratch it. I'm not trying to do any more damage. It just removes the corrosion and whatever else is left on the fingerboard, or sorry, on the frets. But it's amazing how much of a difference clean frets make. Some people don't like how clean people don't like how much I clean up a guitar. I clean up the frets, I clean up the fingerboard. Some people call it mojo. I call it, well, I call it bad things. But the frets are very similar to, like, I always compare it to like a glass. If you ever like get your finger wet and run it along the ring and kind of get that ringing sound out of it. Your frets will do the same thing, and that's actually how you get string buzz. That's how you get all that kind of stuff, is because they're either flat, or sometimes it's just because there's corrosion or stuff sticking on top of them. That actually is more often than not. Especially a guitar that's been left for a while. I actually just finished one that's been sitting in a garage for like 10 years, and it was just pure rust. It was pretty crazy. He's like, yeah, I plugged it in, put new strings on, it didn't sound very good. I'm like, yep, I understand. But yeah, it's just one of those things, and it just helps everything. It makes the setup actually worthwhile. It's like doing all the work on your car and not putting air in the tires, right? Like it's... At least in my opinion. So sometimes I actually also, the first thing I do is kind of just clean these up and give them a little bit of a polish. I should have shown you before. I'm sure you used steel wool before, but again, just use it safely. And then I have a paintbrush that I actually says fret on it, and I only use this for removing the fret fibers. And then I sweep it all up at the end of the day, at the end of the night, I guess. Nothing sitting on the guitar, nothing sitting in the pickups. I didn't do any damage to anything. And even that process was helpful in the sense of really shine off of that, which is great. That's exactly what we're looking for. And the big thing is too, I mean, I'm running a repair shop. This is a business, you know, time is money, yada, yada. But I don't want to be sitting over the... I really enjoy fretwork. I should state that. I really enjoy fretwork, but I also don't want to be sitting over a guitar scraping things for 3 hours on every guitar, making it the best it can be. So that type of stuff, trying to go quick, but also, you know, making sure you're protecting the guitar, protecting either your own or your client's property is obviously huge and very integral to running a successful business. Not claiming that's what I do in the sense. Anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now at the tail end of my oil here, and just throw some lemon oil on here. This is actually the F1 oil from Music Nomad. None of this stuff is sponsored. I'd love to be sponsored by Music Nomad, but I'm not. I just really enjoy this stuff. I've used all the stuff. I've used the bingo dabbers, like the Dunlop 65 stuff. I've used some really big ones, like the big pops. I also use a lot of the wipes. I'm a big fan of those, but that's more so like, I also do like live tech for bands. I use those on stage. So while someone is kind of in between sets, or when we're done for the night, going on to the next city or whatever it is, that works great for that, just to kind of clean them up. But as far as like an everyday occurrence, just a little bit of oil on the fingerboard. I normally go on, and actually this is sucking it up very quickly, which is telling me that this is dry. But often I will just let it sit for a couple of seconds. It's not a leave it, go for a lunch, come back kind of thing. Because what will start to happen, at least I found, is that it can actually get underneath the frets and start lifting it if it's really grimy and stuff under there. So it's just enough to kind of add some moisture to the fingerboard. Of course, we're not going to do that on a maple fingerboard. That's just going to dry it out. So it's only on rosewood and I guess pau ferro and ebony and all those things. Generally I'll turn around, grab a rag, and then I can come back and wipe it off. So it's just enough, and I give it a good scrub, and that's also kind of just a quick little clean. And I mean, that's not too bad, but that would also clean everything else there. Sorry, my face is blocking it. Now the neck is prepped, and now it's basically ready for strings, which is cool. I like setups. I don't see currently right now I have a lot of setups in. It is tour season, so a lot of guitars are just about to get ready and go out on the road and stuff. So that's where a lot of this is coming from. I get a lot of the bigger jobs, the neck resets, refrets, restoration, cracks, breaks, that kind of stuff, which I enjoy. But man, oh man, do I enjoy having a shop full of setups, because it definitely changes the flow of things. So for me personally, I always like to just clean at least the section that's going to be immediately covered by the strings. I don't know, just one of those efficient things, I think. And I'll just clean this section. I'm not going to go crazy and polish everything. Again, another Music Nomad device. I swear I'm not sponsored. But it's cool because it gives you the brush. If you're underneath the strings, you can wipe in between. But there's also just a little bristle brush. It's very soft. And I'll just kind of wipe it away, kind of do everything. And then I'll come back with the cleaning cloth. Just give it a quick little spritz. And I just... kind of wipe it in, and then I just make this section clean, and then when it's all done, then I do the rest of the guitar. So because I'm gonna be on it and I'm gonna be over it. I just found that to work well for me. It's also the reason why I wear an apron too. I get asked that sometimes, why I wear an apron. It actually kind of started during COVID, if you remember that time, for obvious reasons. But then from there, I just actually I kind of enjoyed it. I didn't have, just the concern of maybe damaging a guitar. I've always been very, very cautious of that. I don't wear jewelry or stuff around my neck or anything like that. But if I'm doing anything, it's just one less thing to have to worry about. That's all. All right. So now I have to actually see. Oh, yeah, hardware. So here's one of my secrets. It's not that big of a secret. I learned this from another tech, but it's something not a lot of other people know. But it's stuff called Neverdull. I don't know if this is available everywhere, but it's basically just what works for you? Is it that way? That way. It's basically like a cotton cloth, if you will, and it's got I don't even know what it is, to be honest, what the compound that's on it. But it says for automotive and marine use, but it works so well on any metal hardware. I use this. I don't use it on fingerboards and stuff. I mean, you can, but I don't. I use it on hardware, so like tuners. So if I'm coming over here, these ones actually aren't too bad, but I do the same thing. Just a really quick little spin around here. It's not sitting on here for 15 minutes or anything like that, but what this does is just gives it a really nice shine. And often, this one I don't have to, because I actually have done this guitar not too long ago. But I will sometimes do this with the bridge as well. So I'll actually take the bridge apart, clean it, especially if it's an old one and you can tell that it's there. I'll take it apart, clean it, lubricate it, put it all back together. But that stuff works great, and all it is yeah, you wipe it on, and then you come back with your rag, and you wipe it off. It's a pretty standard saying. So yeah, that Neverdull does a great job. These ones actually weren't too bad, but... And then same thing here, I leave the actual button until I'm done actually working on the guitar, and then I give that a quick wipe. Because if you do a good clean on it, and then all of a sudden you grab it with your fingers, well, you've kind of worked against yourself there. But again, this is what I do. All right, so again, you can just see kind of a nice little shine come off of that. Just the little things. I like that. Okay, let me find the strings that we're putting on this thing. So these are going to be 11 to 49. So at least closer to equal tension. I don't know if I should be bestowed that title, but that's what you're implying. I really enjoy this. It's funny. One day I'll go into the whole story about thank you. I appreciate that. One of these days I will go into the story of how I got into this, because it's kind of funny. It actually seems to be the case for most people that do repair. They're either thrown into it, told to do it, didn't know they're going to do it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of all that, but and for me personally, I like to just throw in all the strings at the same time. And on Strats, often they get caught, like if you're coming through the saddle, it makes things a little challenging, which I think we are on these ones. Yeah, so there's like a little hole that we're trying to get it through, so sometimes threading it can be a little challenging, but it's all good. I like a challenge. Going on here? Come in. There we go. Cool. So now we got all 6 strings through. And this always seems to be another conversation, is how do you tie your string ends? Because everyone seems to do this differently. So what I do on a Strat is I like to grab it, kind of pull it out. You want to be really careful of not like twisting them in your hands. I definitely have wasted a lot of strings doing that. You know, you grab it to get as much strength to pull it up, and now all of a sudden you have this big kink in there. So I just kind of pull it right on the end, and I just pull it straight up. Obviously at this point I'm just doing one at a time, but I'll pull it up a couple times just to kind of feel the ball end hit against the bridge. And then everyone can do something a little bit different on here. This one, we've got the vintage style posts. Where are we? We got the vintage style posts, so the string actually goes in the center of this. So we've got the slot, if that makes sense. So we've actually got, the string can come through, actually let me show you on a thicker string. So the string can come through it, like such, but it also can go in the center of it. Is that translating? I think so. Anyway, so what I normally will do, my common kind of like extra cut strength is about 2 pegs, except for the 6th ring. I don't do that. So here I would come here, go ahead, kind of 2 tuners, and then this one I might just cut off just a little bit. Also depends on the headstock and so forth, but push this all the way down and wind it up. On these style of, let's try it again. On these style of tuners, I will just kind of do wind after wind. So the one that's on the top, and then it just goes all the way down the post. I don't do anything kind of over the top. You don't need to lock them. You don't need to tie them in a knot. So actually this is way too many winds on these posts. So on the next one, we won't go quite so long. Even with it going in there, wow, okay. So that one, And then when it gets to I'm about, I don't know, 3 fingers, 4 fingers off the fingerboard, then I will kind of pull the string and then I'm just pushing down. So I'm just doing basically this. And that's just kind of helping me stretch it out a little bit. I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to twist it. I'm not trying to add any sort of kink to it. I'm just trying to take some of that elasticity out of the string. There's a couple cool tools. They don't work. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't like using them because I'm kind of used to my own ways. I'm not saying that that's the correct way. But the string spreaders, I've seen actually a handful of companies starting to come out with that now. String stretcher. So, and it's kind of the same thing. It's really like almost like an S curve, and the string goes in it, and you just run it up and down the string a couple of times. It's kind of doing the same thing, to be honest. There's just less chance of you maybe knocking it or something, but. Okay, so pull it up on the end there. And then we'll cut that a little bit shorter. I went a little bit too long there. Which isn't the end of the world. I'd rather that than too little. So same thing. Just gonna wind them underneath each other. Exciting time. I mean, that's the funny thing though, is, I mean, like, you probably have a different method of how you do this, and that's totally awesome. And I actually enjoy, like, that kind of stuff. I enjoy learning, and I like seeing other ways. Like, actually tuning it on like these style of tuners, there's kind of only sort of one way to do it. I have seen people just put the string through, like just resting it through the groove and kind of hoping for the best. But it doesn't have, anyway. The like acoustic guitars, I have a fun approach to acoustic guitars, and every time I try and show someone, they're a little confused on why I did it. But I actually don't have any, at least at the stringing point right now. I've got some neck resets and stuff coming, but yeah, I do a little bit of a different method for that on how I restring, or sorry, how I wind the string on an acoustic guitar. Actually, I guess hardtail, like I do that on electric guitars too, but. Yeah, so we're gonna go kind of 2 pegs over a little bit more just to kind of get it into the post, and that way, and we can push it all the way down, and then I bend it in that groove, and then I kind of bend it back so it's kind of kinked around the end of this tuner. What that does, and then I just keep the pressure there. What that does is it keeps a really nice tight wind on the peg. The one thing I really like about this style of tuner is the fact that they have, like, it just cleans the strings then. You don't have these little burrs of cut off strings on the backside of the tuner. I just really like that look. I used to kind of do that with a standard tuner, like your one that you would put through the hole. And I used to bend it and have this little leg sitting inside of the tuner, and just so that I got that clean look, but wasn't very stable. It wasn't really the best. Wasn't really the best idea. I should say that I'm also not going crazy on that. I'm only doing that a little bit, and it just kind of helps remove that elasticity. I do it like 2 or 3 times, and that's it. Yeah, they're pretty cool guitars. I don't blame you, that's for sure. It's one of those things of having kind of one of everything. They all have a different sound and obviously a different feel, different neck shape, etc. Go. And the other reason why I don't do that, again, my approach, but the only reason why I don't do that with the string fully at tension, I have seen people do that before, is that when you're adding any of that, it's like a string bend, and it makes your whole neck bend, and that can go sour on you if you're not too careful. So it's nothing dramatic, it's just enough to kind of help speed that up a little bit. All right. So now it's all clean, we got new strings on it. Now we are going to tune this to standard, though it did come in half step down, this is going to standard. And then we'll see what the guitar does from there. One thing to actually kind of point out as well is that if you do have a vintage style truss rod, so that it mounts from the heel, that's a good thing to kind of look for while you're doing the first step. So like I said, I always measure first, and then if I have to do something like that or an adjustment, I actually will do that. Well, not necessarily with strings on, but I will take a look at that right off the bat, how the string, because now it's much easier when I don't have the strings on. I tune them all up, get all the strings up to pitch, and then go, oh shoot, I have to adjust the truss rod. I have to take all the strings off again. So it's just, again, one of those kind of efficiency things. So the other thing that you would normally have to look at, especially with string changing string gauge, is your nut. This nut actually was already cut for these strings. It was 11 to 49, and then kind of on a whim, he put the 10s on there before. It looks like it's in there, so like we don't have any. There's no burring or anything. They're sliding in there smoothly, so. So this actually isn't moving too much on us, but of course that would be one thing to wonder. So the guitar's been set up with 10s on there. So the string tension underneath, which we're going to do next, is set up to 10. So now that you're putting 11s on there, you have more tension pulling from the top. And that's what starts to make the bridge lift. So if you had this going in the wrong, or if you don't have equal tension rather, that's how you balance this. And that's a confusing part for some. It's just trying to get that all together. But to be honest, I think that's actually kind of almost exactly where he wants it to be. So if we are down... pitch. That's a full half step. So, sorry, that's a full step. So he wants a little bit less than that. So that's actually really easy to do. So right now, this is a tremolo system. And what this does, if you're not familiar with this, is it's basically a locking spring. So obviously these are our trem springs that we have in the guitar. And then this whole mechanism becomes part of the tremolo. And what it does is it sets locking parts. This is actually off. There's no tension on any of these cogwheels or any of these wheels. But what this will do is it will allow you to lock the bridge in place if you don't want to have the tremolo settings, if that makes any sense at all. And one of those things, if you were to lock this, for example, if I were to, you can see that we're getting a lot of movement on this. So if I were to just lock this down, it will actually only prevent it. Or you can back it up, set up your locking wheel to go higher up on the part. And now it can't go any further. So, but he doesn't want to actually use that. But he didn't know what that was. And they are a little confusing if you're not familiar with them, but sometimes they're a little bit of a pain. This one actually seems like it might not be fully functioning. I think this was an online buy for him, which kind of checks out. Is this even locking on here? No. Oh, there we go. Yeah. It's good that we just don't want that to be rolling around because he's not going to be using it anyway. So. Yeah, so all you need to do, the balance, I don't think I'm going to be able to actually show that. At least in this camera configuration, yeah, you can see the bridge that's coming up off of this. We have just the slightest amount of movement on there. And all I'm going to do is just give these screws like a quarter of a turn. Not even. Oh, that is definitely stripped. Just do a little bit at a time. And we'll tune it, bring it back up to pitch. So we'll do just a little bit more there. And then also it's good to note that obviously as you're doing this, you're changing the tuning happening up top as well. So when I'm tightening these, it's making the guitar go up in tuning. So that's why we do just a tiny little bit at a time. Tune it up and see where you're going. If you do that too far, you can actually snap the strings and all that fun stuff. Which isn't the end of the world, but a little touch more, and then I think we got it. Tuning barely moved on that one. Perfect. That's like exactly where he wants that to be, which is nice. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is neck angle, which actually looks really good. So this is another fun topic. So for me personally, I do the measurements, you know, as far as all this kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of people do that. There's also, Fender has guides on what you actually do in order to set up their guitars. Those are all great things to do. I personally just kind of go by the feel of the guitars. So that's a good starting point. So for example, most manufacturers say 5/64, 4/64 is playability, but it also depends, at the end of the day, depends on what the player wants. So if you want it to be really low, then I don't want it to change. And this actually, we kind of lucked out here because the action is actually like almost exactly where he wants it, which is nice. I'm just checking my nut height and stuff. So there's a couple different ways you can do nut height. You can, of course, use gauges, which I will do in just a second here. But what I'm actually doing, without worrying about intonation so much, is that I'm just playing an open string, seeing where it's in, and then I just fret the first note. It's a really good barometer of seeing if it's sharp, which is more often than not what it will be. If it's too low, you will get the string buzz because the frets are, or the string is sitting along the fret. Sorry, I'm doing all that out of frame. If your nut is too low, when you string it, it will be sitting right on the fret, and you'll get that really awesome fret buzz sound. So what I do is I'll just play it open, and I'll play this. But yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can measure it. Kind of the by hand or by eye approach is to fret the third and just kind of press down. You should have just a very slight amount of kind of movement before it's actually tapping the fret. These actually seem almost a little too low. So the way that I like to do it, and I used to do that method, and what I do is I actually just got some smaller sized feeler gauges. I don't have the big crazy one. I do have the big long ones, but these are just much easier to use. And then there's a couple different measurements that you're doing. So basically, kind of a good average, or what I have found to be a really nice average for most people, is 20 thousandths, like 0.020, 18 thou, and 16 thou of an inch. And so what you're doing is you're basically kind of the same thing. You're just putting this together. Can you see that? No, you cannot. So I'll do it this way just so you can see, but you want to do this in playing position. Yeah, so I go 20 and I go just underneath, and it's the same kind of principle, but that's just that measurement, just that gap that's sitting on top of this. And when you put it on the fret, I just kind of do the same thing, and I just see if there's any movement on there. If you hear clicking, that's just telling you that the string is too high. If you can't get the feeler gauge underneath that gap, then the string is too low. This is kind of the same principle of the of the nut height measure, which I actually have that as well. I like this approach myself. It just seems to be really good. So it's 20 for the first two, it's 18 for the next two, and the way you measure this is from one side, and then you come back up and then do your fourth string, and then it's 16 on the last two. So in this position, it actually feels pretty good, but I'm just going to do it in playing real quick just to make sure. You have a lot of one-liners there. Yeah, so that's good. And then we go into 18. That is good. That is good. And then 16. I should put like a little color. I thought about that every time. Just put like a little Sharpie on here just so I don't have to do, because I do that. That's that measurement, but whatever. One day. So that's good. Tuning's good. neck is good. So we actually really lucked out on that one. So it's giving us everything that we need there. And then let's just check our intonation. So the way I like to check intonation is I actually play it open. Again, in playing position. But I play it open, tune it obviously, and then fret the 12th. I used to, for the longest time, do the harmonic 12th and fret, and it just wasn't quite as accurate as that. And then Dan Earlywine, the legendary Stumac repair tech, has always gone off on that, and it worked for me. I got a little bit more accurate results from that, and I liked it. So that's what I do now. So I tune it open, and then I will fret the 12th fret rather than doing the harmonic. So yeah. Not surprisingly, we are sharp. So all that means is that the string length between the nut and the bridge is too short. So we need to lengthen that, which will then flatten the string. So in that case, we have to make this longer, so the saddle has to go that way. That's true. You do have to play it. So for me, that's kind of what I do. I play that and just kind of make my way through it. Come on, where's my mute? There it is. It actually feels great. And that's one of those things too, you can always check the action at your 12th fret. Oh, sorry. I missed that step. No, I didn't, because we did that. So do the restring, it will pull the guitar in its direction. Then what we want to do is adjust the trem to the body, and then you can adjust the truss rod. And now that you have that, now you work on the saddles. So if you need to change your saddle length or your intonation, you'll do that kind of as the last step. If you don't do the other adjustments, again, my 10 cents, but if you do that first, you're going to change actually things by changing the string height, if you have to adjust the bridge, depending on how it's being pulled, and so forth. So anyway, that's one of those things where you can just get a little bit better results. So now that it's actually, the string action is great on this, I'm not getting any frets, which a lot of times you'll get on the 12. So that one I might bring up just a hair, actually. Sorry, where did that happen? Where did I lose you? Oh, Mexi Bridge. Sorry, what's been replacing all of the strings? There we go. Oh, that's what that comment is on the motor oil. I have never heard that. I probably would not do that myself. I will not annoy you with those sounds. So yeah, all I'm doing here is I'm just doing a little bit at a time. So I'm plucking it. I'm doing this in playing position, but I am plucking it, getting it in tune, open, and then I fret the 12th. And then in this case, we are flat. So what I'm doing is, sorry, we're sharp. So that means that the saddle's too close this way. So I'm just moving it back. Do a little bit of a turn, and then do that all over again. Tune it up, try it out. It's quite a bit easier if you kind of do it in playing position, but I guess if I did it like this, you can see what I'm doing. It's just super awkward for me, but hey, that's okay. That's showbiz. Some bridges are really, I guess reactive is the word I'd use. So like a very small turn makes a massive difference, and then sometimes you can give it a full couple of spins and it's barely moving. Jeez, a little out. Yeah, the Hendrix Custom Shop, that's a nice guitar. Those are really nice. Actually, there is a Hendrix in here. It's not a custom shop, but it was his signature that came out. I don't even know what year that was. 2015-ish? Something like that. But, yeah. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I don't understand Twitch. There's nothing happening over on Twitch, but that's okay. I'm not necessarily doing it for that. It's just we'll see what's going on. But I appreciate you hanging out. I realize that this is a niche thing to be live streaming, but this is also kind of funny. It's a request I get a lot by my clients. Like, hey, can I like watch you do? That's kind of how these cameras started, to be honest. Is hey, can I watch you like fix my guitar? And I'm like, nah, because this is normally the time that I am working. And I don't really want people here at late hours at night, unless it was absolutely necessary. But so I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I could probably go grab just like a little camera and try it. And that's actually was these cameras, these web cameras. So they're just cheap little things. And if this takes off and everyone's digging it and so forth, then maybe I'll upgrade these to a little bit better or something. But I don't really see it being too much of a problem, to be honest. And this is kind of, for me, my plan is, yeah, they wanted to be here. They wanted to be here and kind of checking it out, which I'm not opposed to. I do have seating and stuff in here, but it's just the way that I work. I work quite late at night. It's not really just by the time I can get down here and so forth. So it's not always the best for trying to schedule things in here. So I was like, well, why don't I just like record it and then you can watch it on your own? And that's how this kind of started. And then I've had a couple like, hey, why don't you like live stream it? It's like, oh, that's actually not a bad idea. So here we are. I'm calling this night number 1, at least on Twitch. It's the first time I've ever been on Twitch. But as far as YouTube, I've done like 5 live streams before. I did it a couple of years ago, and they were okay. But I was kind of figuring it all out, the equipment and microphone and all that kind of stuff, and just making it something that you would actually want to watch. I definitely didn't have anyone hanging out for the time. So like I said, I appreciate you being here. There we go. Got a little bit more on the low E, and then this guitar is all done. Okay, I got a fair amount to do on the low E. Almost there. This is the exciting part. You're doing these small little micro adjustments, and then all of a sudden it's way out. That's always I don't understand that one. I don't think that's happening here, but oh, we are right there. Okay, cool. Oh my gosh. Light blue banana caster. Oh my gosh, come on. I just know these bridges too well that if you go, because what is this, Indonesia, or is this, yeah, Indonesia. These bridges, if you go too far, then all of a sudden it's like perfectly in tune, but the rest are out or whatever, so just a little bit at a time. It's a little annoying, but it'll go in the right direction. There we go, perfect. See, you just talk about it, and then it just works. So that should be everything. So no. Is that a thing? Well, I appreciate that. That's kind of the right direction. We're in tune. Sweet. There you go. So now that is giving you a Strat setup, which is pretty simple in the sense of like once you've done them a handful of times. And this system is the same way with a Floyd Rose. I don't have any Floyds in shop, unfortunately. But they don't scare me. They used to scare me a whole hell of a lot. And just because of the string tension, and they move so much, especially when you're bringing it up to pitch. But that, I use that actually often. I use that all the time. Even when I'm doing a Floyd, I will take them all off, clean it all up, put them back on. It doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to scare me, but it actually is a really nice sounding little thing. And it's funny, my amp is just like a little Line 6. I have like nice amps underneath the bench, but just for like a little testing amp, I just need to hear it. I don't need anything crazy, so. And now this becomes the kind of guiding point of the other two guitars. And actually of this pile, he has the Hendrix, which is like the, I don't even know what it is. I think it's a Squier Hendrix, but it's got the reverse headstock and stuff on it, so it's kind of cool. But and then there's another one that's in that pile that I have to do a refret on. So, but yeah, that is basically it. I've got a couple more, but it looks like I have to go to a rehearsal tonight, so I might have to go take off and go do that. So yeah, that is basically the end of that guitar. Yeah, so that's here's the climax of the ending, right? So, but yeah, I do appreciate you being here, hanging out. It's been fun. I'm not really too sure how often I might do this. I think I might do this again tomorrow. Actually, I might jump on, just try for a couple times, a couple days, a couple nights, see what kind of works best for schedule and timing. I can't stream every single day. I don't plan on streaming every single day, but also that there's only so much entertainment that can be in stringing a guitar up. So I think in future what I'd like to do is kind of do like a training thing as I'm doing the guitar. We can do some sort of like, hey, I want to learn how to do this bridge or that bridge. And then if I have it in my pile, we can do it. And then the longer kind of training content, so forth, will be also on the, just in general, there'll just be content of that. And then that will be kind of I'm calling it a one-stop shop. So it's like you can kind of learn everything, but it's also, I enjoy learning from you as well. So if you have tips and tricks, please feel free to leave them in the comments, leave them on the page, all that kind of stuff. It's very welcome, and I think that's a really cool thing. For me, myself, like I said, I'll go into this huge speech down the line, but for me personally, I kind of learned this just by making my way through it. And what I mean by my whole story is how I got thrown into this and so forth. As a session player, I didn't even set up my own stuff. I gave it to somebody else because I had no idea on how to do it. And I just kind of started to go and do guitar after a guitar, and then it kind of just came one piece after another. Then all of a sudden I got pieces of a guitar. Hey, can you put this together? I don't know. Let's try. So anyway, this is kind of like a training thing. So I hope that this was something that was helpful. Also, it would be like a bit of a fun vibe to just kind of hang out. I'm not too sure on the music yet. Not only just the vibe, but just in general, obviously for reasons of wow, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the demonetized, but along that line. So copyright, thank you. But yeah, I appreciate you all being here. Like I said, I think I might actually be able to jump on tomorrow as well. It'll be probably something similar, like I might try and go in a little bit earlier, like a 7 p.m. PST kind of thing. So if you are here tomorrow, I will see you on YouTube and Twitch. If you haven't, thank you, copyright, yes, thank you. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. Feel free to follow along, do all that kind of fun stuff. I am here to help with you and hang out with you. So please feel welcome. And until then, I'll see you next time. Take care.